Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship, it doesn't matter, Paper Plane 52. These are the voyages of the Starship Paper Plane 52. Its 5-year mission to seek out and destroy brave new planets and brave new people, and to boldly fly where no paper plane has flied before. Galaxy Truckers is one of those rare board games which has divided our community into two. You either love it or you hate it, much like those a la carte people felt when they were introduced to Bovril and Marmite. You know, it just like divided them into two. But I'm going to keep this simple for us stupid people that watch these videos. It divided the community into Star Trek fans and Star Wars fans. I think that's right. So let's get something straight from the beginning. Galaxy Truckers is Star Trek, the board game, with a game show element thrown into it. What you're going to be doing at the beginning of each round is you're going to be actually building your USS Enterprise from scrap that you're finding lying around in a junkyard. You're going to be gluing engines to guns and guns to cockpits and cockpits to life support systems. And then once your spaceship is built in some strange form, you're going to be shoving it off into space, into some unknown sector of the galaxy to boldly go where only the foolhardy plastic men go. And then you're going to go and find some planets and get some resources, and you might have a bit of fisticuffs with a space pirate, and then there's of course an asteroid field as well as like abandoned space stations. Do you leave it abandoned, or do you take it back home and claim its scrap? It's all these things. And then, like every so-called good Star Trek film, your Enterprise will be a bit damaged, a bit beaten up, or it may get like destroyed entirely. And like the foolhardy Captain Kirk, you get beamed off just in time to have to rebuild a new Enterprise, maybe the Enterprise Double D or something like that. And then you go out into space again. Fun exploring other worlds and other territories, and also exploring the different parts of your ship and how powerful it is. So, how does this game play? I'll show you in a second. Is it a really good game? I'll show you after that. Do I like this game? I'll show you after that. And then should you go out and get this game as well, which you can probably do whenever you want during this video. You could probably stop now and say, no, this game's not for me. Or you could carry on watching until that point where you get bored of my voice going on and on. So maybe I should do some like Spock impressions or something. At the beginning of the game, players will take the colour that they choose, whether it be blue, red, yellow or green, and they take their cockpit and their 2 spaceships. They'll also take the level 1 spaceship layout. Later on in the game, there'll be a level 2 spaceship layout, and even later on in the game there'll be a level 3 or an alternative level 3, which kind of looks familiar. But anywho, for now, he says throwing boards around, the level 1, you place your cockpit colour in the middle of the spaceship, and then you keep these little spaceships close by. Now you're going to be building a spaceship from this cockpit outwards. You won't be building from the side or a bit here, a bit here. You're going to be starting from here and attaching pieces as you go. And then in the middle of the table you do a Tom Vassell special. Yes, you dump all these tiles in the middle and turn them over so they are face down. You'll also need to place this board in the middle of the table, just to the side for now, because this is going to be keeping track of a few things. Number 1, it will keep track of what level you're on. At the moment we're on level 1 as indicated with this spaceship in the middle. Later on you'll replace it with level 2 and level 3. These change some statistics during the game, which I'll get to later on. This level 1 will tell us that we need the number 1 cards. Here is a deck of number 1 cards. Woohoo! You shuffle these. These are going to be the adventure that we're going to be going on, as you saw with my bad shuffling there. And what you'll do is you'll place 2 of these number 1 cards in these 3 slots. So this is going to make up part of the story. There is an easy mode, and it just tells you to take all these cards with these little stars in the middle. But in the middle, that's not the middle, that's the middle. They take these cards with the stars on the side here and use them in your first game. But you know, that's for wimps, that is. You're also going to need these numbers. Okay, you need a number for each number of players that there is. So if you're playing a 4-player game, you need 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, these need to be near the middle, near the tiles, because players are going to be reaching for these when they finish building their spaceship, because it's a race to make a spaceship. Yay! Okay, so yeah, if you're first, you're first. You're going to need a sand timer as well. Yes, you don't have to play with it on your first round. You could do without it. But as soon as the first player takes the number 1, they turn the sand timer over, and when that timer runs out, that means that everyone's had their chance to build their spaceship and you need to go to the next phase of the game. So now you're ready to play. First thing you need to do is you're going to need to breathe slowly, have a sip of your tea, because things are going to get a bit hectic. You will place 1 arm behind your back, maybe your best or your worst arm, up to you. And then someone will shout, squeaky chair. No, they won't shout squeaky chair. No, they will shout, 3, 2, 1, go, and then it's a race to build your spaceship. You're going to be putting your hand into this pile of tiles, taking a tile, bringing it back to your spaceship, having a look at it and deciding whether you want it or not. If you don't want it, you place it back with the other tiles face up. So if someone else would like that part, they can take it. Or if you want that part for later on, you can take it. You can, if you wish, reserve a spaceship part by placing it in this little reserve box up here. You can place 2 tiles in here, no more, and if they are still there by the time the round is over, they count as a penalty at the end of the round. You can also take a bit and go, yes, I want that bit. And then you attach it directly to your central core. Remember, you're building outwards. You don't build a bit here, a bit here, a bit here. You're building outwards. So every piece needs to connect perfectly. But how does it connect? So before I get into connections, I just want to go through one simple thing. Color coordination. Everything is color coordinated. Anything which is brown is to do with engines. Anything which is pink is to do with guns. Anything with green, and even these 2 here have some green on them, is to do with energy and batteries. Anything white is just generic. And there's one special tile over here which I'll talk about in a moment. We'll start with the engine. This is a single engine. This will let your spaceship move forward 1. Okay? The more engines you have, the more spaces forward you will go. Unless you put the engine the wrong way around. Then it's only worth half. Or if you put it sideways, it's only worth half and only will move you at like half impulse speed. A double engine will let you move 2, but only if you spend energy on it. As you can see, there's green incorporated with the brown there. This is a life support system which you can connect to a cabin like so, which will let you have a special alien, a brown alien, who is a whiz kid at engines and can make your ship go forward too, just by having him and his life support. You lose the life support, you lose the alien. The same is to say for this pink one here. This is a pink life support for a pink alien. Woohoo! And so guns. Guns are great for shooting things. Pew pew. Okay, if they're shooting forward, they have the full force of 1 damage that they can do. If they're facing sideways or backwards, they only have half the power. And of course, this one here is a double gun which could do the damage of 2, but you need some energy to power it. The energy comes from these batteries. You can store 3 batteries in here at the beginning of your adventure, and then when you use them one by one on whatever you wish to use them on, they will be depleted. Here we have a shield, which will only activate if you use the energy battery, and this will deflect any damage which is done to you from the north side or the east side of your spaceship. Again, if you turn it a bit, this could be your east and your south, or it can be your south and your west. I would say like starboard port and stuff like that, but I don't know all that stuff. Okay, the generic stuff, this is just connectors here. This is white and generic. This is a cabin where you store your crew, and if you attach a particular, as I said, a one of these things, life thingies, I've forgotten what it's called again. Do I have to do another take? No, I'm not going to do another take. Yeah, if you attach one of them, you can put an alien in there instead. And this is storage components. You can store 3 things in here, and there are some that can only store 1. And this can store something radioactive, because there is some cargo which is radioactive. So that's color coordinations in the tiles. Connections now. Starting from the central cockpit, you can see that there are connections going north, east, south and west. And these are universal connections, okay? Because there are connections which are just 2 pipes here, and that can connect there no problem. There are also connections which are 1 pipe which can connect there. So that's good, you can connect that to that. You can also connect a 3 to a 3 as well, which is great. One thing you can't do is you can't connect a 2 to a 1. That's not a connection. No, sorry, that's not a connection. You cannot even connect into thin space as well. As I said, everything needs to be connected from the inside out. So you can't do that, but you could do that. Now, taking tiles and building your ship is not the only thing you can do on this part of the game. You can actually scan a sector ahead and kind of see what's going to be coming up in your future, so to speak. You can take one of these 3 decks of cards, which remember at the beginning of the game you set up. You can look at them and go, okay, yeah, all right. And if you wish to, you can look at another set, or you can look at all 3 sets through this phase. It's up to you. You don't have to look at them at all, but it kind of like prepares you. Then you can build this spaceship in a particular way, because you might be lots of commerce planets here, and you might be able to collect lots of goods. Well, there might be lots of pirates and stuff, so you might have to put loads of guns on your ship. So that will prepare you. Once you're happy with your ship and everything is okay, you grab the first number possible. So in case number 1 is available, you grab number 1. That will then signal the end of the round. You turn the sound timer over and you say, that's it, you've got until then, otherwise it's game over. When that does happen, that's when you'll have to verify everybody's ships. You'll have a look and check and make sure that the connections are connected good, that there's nothing mal-connected. So a verification of this spaceship will prove the following faults. Number 1, nothing can be behind an engine because it will get blown up by the exhaust. You remove it and put it in the reserve space at the top here. Again, the same is true for guns. Nothing can be in front of a gun because it's going to blast it. So you remove that as well. Any bad connections, 2 to 1s, that's going to remove, and unfortunately all this is going to fly away. So all of this lot goes in the bin as well. Also, if you've got connections going into another tile but there's no connections there, like this, you're going to lose a part like so. Connections going into space like this is not a problem. It might be a problem later on in your adventure. And all this lot is going to count as negative scoring at the end of the round. And luckily at the beginning of the first round, the most I can get is a maximum I can get is a -5. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 6 there, so I'd only lose 5 points, although I have 6. And that's just the first half of each round. Okay, you're building a spaceship and getting plastic stuck to your arm. Then what you're going to do is you're going to be placing your spaceships on these racetrack here. Depending on the number that you've got, so if you're first, you'll put your spaceship on the red arrow, and then all the other players in number order will put their spaceships, the mini ones, not the real big ones, because those tiles will just go everywhere. They will place them on the track as well, and as you can see for the first round, it's 2 spaces apart from each other. With your spaceship constructed and it's on the starting line ready to go, all you have to do is give it a good crew and enough energy to see it to the end of its adventure. In each of the cabins you'll place 2 astronauts, unless you want to place an alien and there's a life support for that alien next to it, so you can place at least 1 brown and 1 pink in your spaceship. You'll also charge up the batteries, because obviously batteries are going to be useful for your engines, your guns and your shields. And then you are nearly ready to go. One more thing to do. Now we need to get our adventure together. You remember those 3 decks of cards with number 1 on them? Yeah. Well, you take them and then you add an additional 2 number level 1 cards to the deck. This is like a mystery kind of thing which has gone into the deck. And you shuffle these together. And this is now the adventure that these spaceships are going to take. You place it down and then you take the top card and reveal it, and it says something really cool. Yes. Right, I'm going to go through some of the cards. I'm not going to go through every single card in the deck and all the possibilities. I'll give you a taster. Okay, if you get the open space card, all players would add up their engine speed. Now, how does that work? Well, you count all the engines that are facing behind you, so give you that forward thrust, and that will give you 1 point for each engine. Any engines pointing left, right or up will only give you half a point. And then of course you have double engines. If you wish to, you can use an energy for each of them to give you 2 points. Then starting with the player in pole position, you will move that many spaces forward. And the great thing about this is these spaces are days. And if there is someone just in front of you and you have to move in front of them, you just jump over them. You don't count their space. So you can just get a bit ahead there. And then we come across a solar system with some planets. Now, start with the player in front in pole position. They will choose one of the planets and place their other vessel on it to mark that they've gone to that planet to collect the goods. You then collect those coloured cubes and you can see if you can store them in the compartments in your ship. Of course, the red ones being radioactive will only go in certain boxes. And again, these different colours are different values at the end of the game. So if you manage to get them to the end of your destination, they're going to give you points. But loading up cargo is going to take time. So you're going to have to move your spaceship back the number of spaces depending what it says on the card. And then we have the abandoned space station and the abandoned vessel. Now, if you have the crew, you can go aboard the abandoned space station and search for resources. Again, this will take time, so you'll have to move your ship back on the time track, but you'll get the resources if you have the right amount of people. Again, this will start from pole position. If the pole position doesn't do it, the second player can do it, the third player can do it, but as soon as someone does it, that's it. There's no more resources on that ship. It's the same with the vessel, but the thing is, you're going to be giving up some of your crew to go and fly that spaceship back to port. You'll get the reward, but you'll lose some time again in days. Now the pirates, the smugglers and the slavers are all gonna attack you. Again, this will start in player order. What you'll do is you'll add up your guns, much like the engines. So all guns facing forward will give you 1 point. All guns facing other directions will give you half a point. Again, you can use your battery energy to charge a double gun to give you 2 points extra. You'll compare it to the value marked on the card, and that will decide whether you defeat it or not. When it's defeated, you'll get the reward and you'll lose that amount of time in days as normal. But if they defeat you, it goes to the next player. And then at the end, what you do is you look at all the players that have been defeated by the pirates, the smugglers and the slavers, and then you'll do your damage together. So if it's smugglers, you'll lose some goods from your ship. If it's slavers, you're going to lose some crew from your ship. But if it's pirates, you're going to take damage together. I'll explain damage later. There are also meteor showers in space, and sometimes your ship is going to get a bit battered and slapped about a bit. So again, this falls into the damage department, and I'll explain that again later. And the last card I'm going to mention is the combat zone. In this, the weakest player is going to get hurt. If you are the player with the least crew, you're going to lose some time in days trying to navigate this combat zone. If you are the player who has the slowest engine speed, you're going to lose some crew. And if you're the player with the weakest firepower, you're going to take damage. Let's talk about damage. In regards to damage from asteroid belts, all players would take the damage simultaneously. As you can see, there's a large picture of an asteroid there, and it's got an arrow pointing straight down, which means that this large asteroid is going to go at your ship. There's a small one here with an arrow pointing this way, which means it's going to hit your ship this way, and a small one which means it's going to hit your ship this way. So they're going to be a variety of these cards doing different things. And how do you do the damage, you ask? Well, you roll 2 dice. Simple as that. As I said, everybody will check the result. So in this case, my result is 5, and this large asteroid is going to come down the route of 5. And as you can see, it's going to hit this thing here, which would make it blow off, and I'd have to put this into my bin here. All players will reference their column 5 and see what happens. If their column 5 had a laser there, their laser would shoot that large asteroid, which means that has no damage whatsoever. Next up would be a meteorite which comes from the left hand side. Again, you'd roll the dice, you look at the result. Again, it's a 7, which is attacking this engine. And it's a small asteroid, so what will happen is it will bounce off of this, no problems, without any effect whatsoever. But if this piece wasn't here and you had this exposed pipe into space, this little asteroid will actually go in here and blow that up. But you could use a shield. This shield is protecting the left hand side and the back hand side of the spaceship. Obviously, if it was turned in another position like that, it would protect this side and this side, but it's protecting this like that. So I could spend 1 energy and this little asteroid would just go and disappear. I'm going to have to add some sound effects or something. That'd be really cool. And finally, you'd roll the dice again to see the little asteroid come from the right hand side. Combat from a pirate works in the same kind of principles. It has arrows and it has small explosions and big explosions. A small explosion is one that you can deflect with your shield, whereas a large explosion cannot be deflected anyhow. You will take damage from a large explosion if the number just happens to hit your ship. In this case it's a 3, and so that would have missed. So yay! Of course, any damage that you take will go into your damage box, and you have to be careful as well, because if, say, this piece got destroyed, this would actually have nothing to attach to, and it would float off as well into space. Pigs in space! Now, along the way, some of you may lose all your engines, so you're going to be unable to move very fast. Some of you may lose all of your astronauts, and therefore you got no one to drive the ship. And some of you might decide just to quit because you're worried that bad things are going to happen and you're not going to get a lot of points. And in that case, you quit, and that way you only get a few points at the end of the round. But how do you get points at the end of the round? Wow, once you've gone through the whole deck of adventure cards, you score as following. You will get the maximum points as indicated here if you are the furthest ahead of everyone else on the time track, the lap thing, the race course. You'll also get a bonus from a beauty competition. Oh yes, there's a beauty competition involved as well. If your ship has the least amount of exposed pipes into space, you get a bonus for being a beautiful ship. Maybe a bit of mascara, a bit brown mascara. No, I'm not going to put that on. Then you can sell all your cargo, and you sell it for the price marked on here. Unless you've quit, then you only get half the value of the marked price there. And then you deduct all of your bits and pieces away from your box of rubbish, from all the pieces that you reserved at the beginning of the game and all the bits that got blown up and smashed along the voyage. There you go. And then you rinse and repeat. You do phase 2, which will have different circumstances. You'll have more cards, you'll have higher points for getting further ahead of everyone, and you'll have a different starting position, and you just keep going. You can play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 rounds, it's up to you. And then you can decide when to stop playing the game, and then that's it. So, Galaxy Truckers is a board game that everybody should demand to have a decent blinking insert, because, you know, I went out my way and I bought this box which holds all these nice components instead of having it in baggies, because it's... No, but seriously, Galaxy Truckers is a board game that every Star Trek fan will hitchhike around the galaxy with. This is a really fun kind of game show-esque board game for those kind of people that like game show kind of style board games. It has that 2.5 part game. You have that fast, interactive, real-time playing where you're constructing your ship from bits and pieces lying around a junkyard, and then you're sending it off down the river into space to see what kind of things happen to it, and it's funny watching all that stuff happen. Yes, this is a very non kind of typical kind of style board game, which has the theme and the mechanisms mashed together, and they're weird theme and mechanisms, but they work. They gel together really well. This whole idea of putting a spaceship together from scrap, and building pieces here and willy-nilly, putting 16 engines on it in one gun, or having many cabins and stuff, is a fun experiment. And the fact that you're doing this real time just adds that bit of pressure. So there's no kind of like real skill level to the game. Anybody could play it, and anybody's ship could make it to the end. But it's just those random events in the second half which make an interesting story. It's not the building and banging your nails against someone else's nails. That's not funny. But the actual fact that, you know, you built a spaceship which is 6 spaces wide, and it actually makes it to the end of this adventure, while someone's big Battlestar cruiser with guns everywhere just gets blown to bits, is an amusing story. But that, unfortunately, is where the division in this game comes. People who are strategic players don't like the fact that they've spent their brain power building this spaceship from, you know, the best bits in the universe, and then it just dies in the first second. They don't like that kind of chaos, carnage, bad luck of chance. And there is a lot of luck in this game, seriously. So if you're not into that, this game is not going to appeal to you. But if you want a game which is going to make you giggle, make you laugh, and has that really light air to it without having this big, deep strategic game, then this is a great game for you. The components are really solid. The tiles, I've had them a while, I've played this game quite a lot, and they haven't weared away very much. The little astronauts and the little aliens, the astronauts are cute as can be. The fact that there's cubes, nah. The energy things are a bit finicky. I've had days when I've done hoovering and found one in the hoover because it's like we've played it and it's gone on the floor. Something bigger would have been better. Maybe a clear, transparent cube. Going back to the rulebook, apart from it being very well written and those little very amusing kind of examples, is everything is easy to find, because you will have to reference the book every now and again, because where this game is made up of so many different rules, you have the rules of how you take tiles, rules of what the tiles do, rules of how the tiles fit together, and then you have the second half of the rules for each of the cards. Everything is easy to relocate in this file, which is great. Also, the other thing that it mentions is little adjustments that make the game lighter for you. As I said, you don't have to play this whole game from round 1, round 2, and round 3. You could just play one round, and that'd be enough for a lot of people. And that, yeah, it's a great game. Or nah, don't like this game at all. You can play as many rounds as you want. You can play 4 rounds and use both alternative side 3s of the spaceship. The other thing it mentions is you don't have to use the sand timer, so you don't have to put pressure on, because some people don't like pressure, and I don't like real time in games much. But in this, it works. It has that pressure on those players that are going to build a Star Destroyer when they should be building like a Millennium Falcon. Yeah, you just want to build a ship which is just going to go from A to B, no problem. The fact that, you know, there's the tiles and the scoring, you don't really need the scoring in the game. You have good fun just playing the game without seeing who's got the highest score at the end. And another thing is, I think it says in the rules, I'll have to double check my French, but I think it says that you can remove cards which you think are a bit too hard, so you can make the missions a little bit easier to give you a bit more of a fun experience. So you can adjust this game a lot to make it the experience that you want it to be. Now, going back to theme and mechanics, the theme and mechanics are a mess, a bit like my room at the right now. There's crud everywhere, right? But that makes the game unique in its own way. It does have this style of, I don't know if you remember TV programs like the Great Egg Race or Scrap Heap Challenge. It's those TV shows where they have these teams of people have to build a machine or a thing or an item, and it has to do a specific objective. It has to race this weird course, or it has to open a jar of Marmite within 3 minutes, and it's not allowed to do this and that. And those kind of shows are encapsulated in this game itself. The fact that you are just building weird shaped spaceships, and then you have to make it just fly through this assault course of planets, and you have to decide if you're going to go on these missions, or, you know, if to use a shield or not to use a shield. You have those decisions in the second half. It's not just a case of, you know, you built your robot and then you push it out and go, there you go, it's going to do its job, it's hit a wall. Oh, you stupid thing. It is that kind of excitement that you get from watching those programs. Yeah, you see these people put their love and emotion into constructing this thing. Oh yeah, we should put like a go faster stripe down the side there, and we'll make the wheels 15 inches, not 22 inches because of whatever. But it's that kind of love and affection for those types of shows which is encapsulated in this game immensely, and that's why I'm going to start talking about what I love about the game. I love that feeling. Yes, I love that feeling of building a paper aeroplane and see if I could throw it further than my schoolmates. I love that idea of poo sticks, where we find a branch wherever we can find it. We get on one side of the bridge, we drop it in the water, we go to the other side of the water to see whose branch comes out the other side, who gets stuck. It's that excitement, that basic need to see something that you've made fulfill its expectations. I'm using some really big words here. This is great. I'm going to keep this edit. One thing I'm not a fan of is real-time games, but in here it doesn't seem to matter. It's nice to have that bit of pressure to put on people. This is a game which is, as I've probably said many times, is like game show-esque. You're going to be doing something. You're building a spaceship from Lego and then throwing it out your bedroom window and seeing if it survives. It's that fun experience, but the second half is not totally random. You will have decisions to make. You'll have decisions to make whether you want to spare some people to go onto a spaceship. You want to make that decision of whether to beam down to that planet or just keep ahead of everyone else in the race. You've got the decisions of, should you use your shields now or should you use your engines now? There's those little decisions which are going to adjust the cause and the final outcome of your vessel. Will it make it without losing 15 pieces? Will it make it and still be the prettiest thing in the universe? The game is a mess, much like my room with this paper everywhere. It is a mess of game elements mishmashed together with the theme, but it works. It can be finicky with all the small little components and then having to turn the tiles back over and then clean up and do this, and there's lots of different moving parts to this game, so it's constantly doing this, taking that token, moving this here, putting that there, lots of kind of bean counting, so to speak. But it doesn't detract from the theme of the game, because while you're doing that, you're chatting to each other and you're laughing about what's happened here and what's happened there. And if this isn't enough, there are expansions that you can buy. And I have one of these expansions, and I have not played with it yet because I don't feel the need to. Actually, this game is a pretty big, expansive game already, and I've looked at the rules of the expansion, and it adds an alien which walks around the ship and eats your people. It adds a booster which can shift your ship sideways, and lots of other crazy powers. But there's enough powers and bits and pieces here to keep you amused for a long time. So to sum up, this game is my cup of tea. It's the right mishmash of bits and ideas. Again, some of them I don't like, but it works. And it gives me that feel of Star Trek, or that feel of the game show Scrap Heap Challenge, or the Great Egg Race, building something and then putting it in its, marching it down the road. It's a great, enjoyable game, but as I said, it's going to divide the community like Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson, just like that. So I'd like to say thank you very much for watching. If you didn't understand any of the rules in this game, I'd go and check out Mr. Logan Run's video. That's Gaming Rules Galaxy Truckers. He explains it perfectly. And of course, I'm going to say ciao for now. And remember, you don't have to buy every single game or expansion that's out there. You just need to own a few good ones. Hey, you! Do you like playing board games? Yeah? Well, you know what? So do I. So let me tell you a little story. Long time ago, before XCOM and Techno Go, there was a game called the Settlers of Catan. I think you know. The game gives me nightmares in my sleep. The thing that I remember is a beep, beep, beep. When someone rolls a 7 and summons up the thief, they pick on me and steal my sheep. That's why I don't like playing Catan, 'cause that's just the way that I am. I don't like playing Catan, 'cause that's just the way I am. I don't like playing Catan, 'cause that's just the way that I am. I don't like playing Catan, 'cause that's just the way that I am. The USS, yes. The USS Vassal. Then it'll be a vassal vessel. The USS Grogan, yes. Then it can do the Grogan's run in 5.287 gigawatts. Parsecs. Yeah, parsecs. The USS Ominous. Yes, forever keeping the balance of power in the galaxy controlled. Good plug. The USS Bedwetter. Yeah, bit soppy that. The USS Reiner Knizia. Yeah. No.